kicking off the 2018 Precision Farming Dealer Summit today with our first dealer panel, discussing a topic which tends to hold as much promise as paying for dealers, agronomic services. So let's meet our three speakers who will each share their strategies, challenges, and outcomes for making agronomic service a part of their precision business. So at my immediate left, and up first is Joel Kaczynski, Product Specialist Manager at RDO Equipment in Moorhead, Minnesota. In the center is Chris Conway, Precision Ag Coordinator at Southern States Cooperative, headquartered in Richmond, Virginia. And at my far left is Paul Bruns, owner of Precision Consulting Services in Canby, Minnesota. Each of the three dealers on stage is going to present their stories in succession in 15 minutes each. And we're going to hold questions until the end, when Joe will be roaming the audience here with microphones so you can ask those questions. So with that, let's welcome Joel Kaczynski.
All right, thanks, Jack. First off, I just want to thank Jack for inviting me to speak today. Very excited to be here with all of you today. Very humbled also when Jack asked me. I thought to myself, it's like, what do I have to offer? Here I'm born in southeast North Dakota, raised on a farm near Geneseo, North Dakota, and I'm here down in Louisville, or I'll get it right, Louisville, Kentucky, to speak to all you guys that are in this industry, really making a difference, wanting to make a difference in precision ag. So I'll first off just start off a little background about myself. I was born in born and raised on a farm in Geneseo, North Dakota. It's a small town, like a lot of small towns in North Dakota. We have a church that seats 400, a bar that seats about 50, and an elevator that seats about 20. So that's the makeup of that little town. I have a passion for agriculture and technology. I ended up following my passion through my school and my career. I went to graduate from NDSU in 1997. Do we have any NDSU Bison fans out there at all? Go Bison. They just won their sixth national championship in the last 7 years, if you guys don't follow any college football. But very proud of our team there, and also of one of our own. We call him our own. Everybody knows everybody in North Dakota, so which would be Carson Wentz. So unfortunately, don't get to see him play in the playoffs here, or potentially Super Bowl, but we're all very proud of him too. So following my dream or following my passion in agriculture, graduated in 97 from NDSU. I spent about 8 years in the ag service provider world. Worked for a company back then, it was called AgReliance, which has transitioned into CHS, Winfield, somewhere in there today. And from there, I started with RDO 13 years ago as a sprayer specialist. That transitioned shortly into management. I managed our dealership in Breckenridge, Minnesota for about 7 years before joining this team in the Precision Ag. What I do today is I manage our team of product specialists. This gives a footprint of what RDO equipment looks like. We're a John Deere dealer. We were started in 1968 by our founder, Ron Offit. Ron bought his first dealership in Castleton, North Dakota. In 1968, he sold a quarter of the family land and borrowed $10,000 from his grandmother to buy his first store. He quickly realized when he got into running a business that he had to pay his employees, and he didn't have any working capital cash to pay employees. He had to go to the farmers and have them pay on their accounts so he could pay his employees. So through all the ups and downs of the ag economy, Ron has stayed the Offit family stayed steadfast on growing their business. You can see they're up there today. This includes our ag, construction, Vermeer, RDO water locations. I focus just on the ag. We manage a team, I kind of break it into three regions: the Midwest, the Northwest, and the Southwest ag regions. Each one of those regions, I have a supervisor who has a team of specialists that work with all the technology, with the equipment. Those are the guys providing all the services and support around that equipment, and the services that we sell of additional support to our customers. Each region also has an agronomist working in that region, and that's really what I was asked to speak on today, is what our strategy around and what our agronomy strategy is. And like Jack had mentioned, everybody is unique in your dealership and your customer base and what you need to do to really leverage that. We focused on what our culture of our company is and what and where we got to where we are today, and use that basis on how we structure our agronomists and our agronomy strategy. So to move into that a little bit, I stole this slide from John Deere. It was something that was put together by their Integrated Solutions Group this summer. But it kind of puts some focus on what we're trying to do. If you look on the right-hand side there around the infield job planning and execution, that's what I look at my team as doing best, making that equipment work in the field. You see on the left-hand side the agronomic input decision and planning. So there's where we bring in the agronomists that I have hired, focus on a number of different things. One of them is growing our team, so the training internally that we're doing to grow our team. They work with field trials. We'll get into that some, with the field trials that we're doing to identify the ROI on that equipment, on the newest technology that's coming out. And then we also work with those agronomists work with partnering with ag service providers and our customers' agronomists. So I'll get into that a little bit more. You can see in the middle there, you see JD Links. That's John Deere's telematics solutions that we promote and work with. I really look at JD Link and that telematics as the foundation to make all this precision ag successful. Well, they're supporting it, the ability to support it remotely, and the ability to transfer files to and from that equipment. I really look at that's what really created big data when telematics came out, and these manufacturers really started ability to collect them and remotely bring them onto a web-based system. First off, I'll show some of the training we do, and I got a short video. It's about a minute long. This was put together by agronomist Nate Dorsey. If any of you guys follow any of our podcasts or YouTube videos, you'll see some of Nate's work that he's did. But I didn't realize when I hired Nate that he even had this quality to do this type of training. But I'll show it to you, and I'll explain it.
This is an agronomist. Most people think of agronomists as farming experts. But to do that, an agronomist needs detailed knowledge of soil science, chemistry, biology, genetics, and earth science. This knowledge is then used to help grow plants. These plants are used to make products such as the food we eat, the clothes we wear, and the fuel that helps power our cars and communities. We are going to make you an agronomy expert. But first, you need to know the number one rule of agronomy. This is not dirt. It's soil. You don't want to have a conversation with a farmer about his dirt. This is dirt. What's the difference? The best way to think about it is that dirt is displaced soil. It used to be soil, but it was moved to a place where it shouldn't be, such as on your carpet or clothes. Soil is much more complicated to define. Hans Jenny, the forefather of modern soil science, famously said that it is embarrassing not to be able to agree on what soil is. And it's true. The challenge is that soil means different things to different people. To an engineer, soil is a construction medium to be pushed around by equipment. For them, knowledge of soil is important so they can know whether a soil is suitable for roadways, houses, or other construction projects. To a geologist, soil is simply a small phase in the global rock cycle. Soil came from rocks, and it will eventually return to rock over the course of thousands or millions of years. To a farmer, soil is a medium for growing plants. It provides nutrients, allows roots to grow, and stores water. Before we go any...
So I kind of chuckled at Nate. I go, why did you make the farmer fat? But anyway, so he drew all that freehand, and it wasn't something that I asked him to do. It's something he enjoys doing. What I asked him to do is to build something that we can use to last for trainer employees, the basics of agronomy. So what this training we have we have an internal web-based training that our company uses for administrating all the training we do across company-wide. So we have the ability to push out to all any of our employees working on the ag side, we had to take this Agronomy 101, 102. It was a half-hour long presentation to listen to with a list of questions and tests at the end of it, and then we can qualify and quantify who has taken it, and then also for onboarding with new employees coming on. The reason behind that was just the tie of equipment to agronomy we want our employees to understand that, and they might not look at themselves as the expert, but if they can talk a little more educated and have a little bit better understanding of what the technology and precision ag is doing relates to growing crops and agronomy, is going to make us successful and more strong as an equipment dealer in the future. So that was one of the around our internal training, and we continue to develop and work on that. Another medium we've been using is social media. If anybody wants to see what we're doing, what our product specialists do, we're very, very involved in Twitter with just showing stuff that's going on. Placed a few videos out on YouTube as well. We've also, when Nate come on board, he really looked at doing innovative type of training and innovative ways to get the message out of what we're trying to do. We developed our Ag Technology podcast. That's actually how I got to know Jack and the team here with a podcast that we did cooperatively with them. So we've had success there. I look at that, some of that's more, we're reaching beyond what our main customer base is too, but the overall big picture, I feel we're going in the right direction of being engaged in that. One of the other initiatives we have for our team and our agronomists are field trials. We focused, our goal this past year was that each product specialist would have one field trial that they work with. I'll go back to when you looked at that list of all of our stores, we have roughly around 30 ag stores on that list. And each product specialist, I have one specialist per 2 stores. So that puts in perspective what we're looking at doing. But anyway, getting into the field trials, so the agronomists work with the product specialists of those field trials and then getting them in a format that we can deliver to our employees internally. So this is something we really focus on the ROI, coming to a customer saying, what is this new technology? What's it going to bring to you? One of them I'll just mention that we did was curve compensation on planters. And we did a curve and pulled the sample and identified and calculated out what our return on that would be, looking at the outside compared to the inside with overpopulating and underpopulating, and just come up with give a customer an idea what his ROI could be on curve compensation on a planter that transmitted into the sprayer as well with the new technology in the ExactApply. So I feel that it's key for our customers for adoption with our field trials. Another thing to mention on field trials, we've also been trying to work closely with our local universities, whether it's a technical 2-year school or a 4-year school. Recently, and one of our local ones is in Wapton, North Dakota. They recently acquired a land lab, or 90 acres to be a land lab. We approached them. They approached the industry partners to see who would be willing to partner and help them with this land lab. We submitted and were accepted to provide the equipment needs for that land lab over the next 3 years. So there's an opportunity for us to hopefully bring some equipment in there, hopefully use that for training internally, and also just get the engagement of students and the people into the ag industry. I really feel that is key to the success of precision ag. What we're looking at today is to bring the knowledge, bring excitement of employees of the youth into this industry, and that's what we're trying to do when we're collaborating with these colleges, and also help them understand what the latest technology that's out there. The third thing that I kind of talked about was collaborating with others in the industry, and primarily collaborating with ag service providers and our customers, agronomists that are making recommendations for them. So RDO equipment, we have our own CRM software that we developed years ago. It's actually probably back in the early 2000s. We've been using that. So it's a whole base where we do all of our activities, all of our sales process, everything goes through this system. So what we did here 2 years ago was we added a trusted advisor piece to that, to our CRM, to our software, and we're able to track. We document down who our customers, agronomist or their banker, or who else is helping make a decision on that farm. And that ties that agronomist to that customer. And some of these agronomists, trust advisors, work with multiple customers. We're able to build these relationships with these trusted advisors, bring them in for trainings, identify what software they're using, and hopefully help them understand the John Deere system and bring them into that. So what's up for the future? The future is, I got 23 seconds left right now to tell you about it. But we're going to continue to grow all those areas that I just talked about. It's been asked to me in the past, are we going to have a full service consulting, making recommendations, agronomy team? I'll never say never, but right now we feel the biggest bang for our buck is partnering, collaborating with those in the industry that are currently doing that today. So with that is what I have, and I think at the end we'll have time for questions. Thank you, everyone.
Can y'all see me?
Sorry.
Yeah. My name is Chris Conway. I'm the Precision Ag Coordinator for Eastern Virginia, Southern States. I'm located 60 miles east of Richmond, Virginia. Most of the land we service is on the Chesapeake Bay and its tributaries. We're not on the equipment side. We're agronomics. We're more crop input and service. But we work closely with the dealers, not only for our applicators, but for our salesmen. Our salesmen are the key point to our Precision Ag program. They're out there selling the program. As far as that, the salesman there's only one of me, so we have multiple farmers. So the salesman has to have the knowledge of downloading racks into combines for the farmer to get going. Not only that, we have a weight wagon, and we also help them calibrate their combines and all at the end of the year because we want good data. So we try to keep Precision Ag simple, and here's an example of how the farmer works. And I think the most important thing is planning. We need to know what the farmer, what's his goals, what does he want to do, what's his population. We need all that information to keep going. If we have data, we like to look at that first, but the most important thing is planning. Satellite's what we use when we scout fields. It's a great way, instead of going out into a field and walking the whole field, it gives us an idea of key points we want to look at. And this is just an image we like to do with the farmers, trying to show them or explain to them satellite, the difference in the fields and all. And everything we do when we scout a field, we like to put a geo-reference or drop a pin. Not only that, we like to pull the plant to give the farmer an idea of what the field looked like. This is another way of us showing a farmer how satellite works. Compaction is another thing we deal with in our area. I'm sorry, I keep moving. Compaction is another thing we like to do in our area. It's a problem that we have. We always take compaction everywhere we go. We take 3 samples, 1 to 6, 6 to 12, and 12 to 18 inches. The other thing we like to do is pull up the plant. Telling a farmer that he has compaction is one thing, but actually showing him the good and the bad in the roots. The good and then the bad. Another thing we started doing this year was satellite. We started in the middle of the year. We decided to pull some of the farmers' yield maps, which is right here on this side, and a satellite image on this side. The satellite image we took was around black layer, and we were trying to show the farmer the similarities that the satellite can show him what his field's going to look like. It's not going to tell him what he's going to do, but it's going to show where his good and bad are. And as you can see right here, I don't know if you can see that cursor, the bad area is right there, and of course over here and right here. It's another way to start a conversation with the farmer and to get him asking questions. The farmer might not ask a question, but I guarantee you next time when he has a problem with the field, he's going to tell you to pull up a satellite. Let's go check out that field. This is the end part to our program. This is when you sit down and it's the end of the year and you're talking about precision ag and everything that you did. We like to sit down and go over the data with the farmer. It's a good way to start a conversation on what we did right, what we did wrong, what could we have done better. But not only that, but we can overlay stuff versus why did you do 120 on this side and 150 on this side? So if you're only going to do 120, why are we feeding the whole field for 150? We want him to start thinking like that. This year we got on population, and in my area we probably have a handful of people that can do precision planting. This year, sitting down talking to the farmer about precision planting and all, we have 6 farmers going out getting precision planters, or they're upgrading their systems because they see the value in it, and value is an important thing. And doing a cost analysis, especially automatic row shutoff, was a big difference. I think we figured out most farmers could pay for that in 2 years. And I went a little quicker because I didn't think I was going to get this done. Is there any questions?
Thanks. All right, so a little intro on me. Paul Brent's Precision Consulting Services. I'm in Canby, Minnesota, and I know 95% plus of you are going where. Geographically speaking, I'm about 10 miles from the South Dakota border, straight west of Minneapolis, Minnesota, so about 90 miles north of the Iowa line. I am a jackrabbit fan, not a bison fan. There's no Z in bison, so I haven't found that one yet. Anyway, thanks again to Jack for asking me to help contribute today. Hopefully I will in a positive way. But one of the things that I look at is in my geography, there's a lot of precision ag providers in my area, in a lot of different realms of the precision ag industry. So one of the things that I always look at is precision ag is the integrated crop management system. And system is the key behind my business approach that attempts to match the kinds and amounts of inputs with the actual crop needs of the small areas within a field. This is one of my growers' fields. You guys can see we've got a fair amount of variability. We go from almost peat to beautiful class 5 gravel within 50 feet, and then right back to 260 bushel potential ground. So we've got a lot of variability in our geography. So one of the key pieces to success in my market, I rely heavily on variable yield goals with everything that I'm doing, or yield potential. We've gotten to a point where the old adage of, well, you want to raise more, just pull more on it. We can't afford to do that. And in some cases, we can't put more out there because that's not the problem. It's a water limiting factor. So when you can't change the field, change your management style. We can use it in all systems, and what I mean by that is we used to do a lot of zone sampling. We currently do a lot of grid sampling in our area. There's still a lot of zone management being done in our geography. But in what we do, it is a constant changing variable in the equation for that prescription. So the GIS software package that I use is writing a new yield goal for every 10 square feet. And I've had a ton of people in the industry go, I can't manage the machine down to 10 square feet. Why would you ever want to do that? Well, the problem is, as you see, that's a variable yield goal for that grower. In the red areas, I'm at 70. In the purple, I'm at 270. That floater truck is going to have to change really, really fast to adjust on the fly. And so I'm not making nearly as big of jumps from the machine, and the applicators that I work with have said, you know what, when I get your maps, I'm spot on for fertility. For what they loaded for me, the machine matches it beautifully. So that's probably one of the big reasons we do that. And there's some of these places, kind of hard to see, but those red areas, the big guy upstairs never intended it to raise more than 70, 80 bushel corn, no matter what we do. Okay? That same map also becomes the backbone of what we do for variable rate seeding. So we have a variable yield goal or potential, and we drive a lot of our fertility and our seeding rates based off that exact same map. So what we actually end up seeing is over time, we actually increase our variability. I don't know if that's job security or not, but it works. Because our good soils now, we finally are pushing them to what they truly are getting. Areas where I had customers that were fertilized for 175, 80 bushel corn, and they said, yeah, my field average is 175, 180, I'm doing just fine. Well, there's places out there that are doing 210, 220, 230, and other places that are doing 70. Well, why keep throwing the fertility into those areas that are only doing 70? Let's move it to the good stuff. And now where we finally took that 180 yield goal and we're getting 220, we set it at 220, it goes to 240. So we continue to increase those areas over time. Water is probably one of our biggest limiting factors. Too much and too little at the same time. Okay, I stole this slide from a precision planting meeting in Sioux Falls that I attended here a couple years ago, but it hit home. There's a lot of people in this industry and in this room, I know it, I can't see y'all because these lights are blinding me, but I know you're out there, that are awfully darn good on equipment. Hands down, some of the best. There's also a lot of people in this industry that are really, really good at agronomy. And there's a group that falls right in the middle there that are good at equipment and agronomy. Then we've got people that are good at software and data services. Some of those understand agronomy, some of them understand equipment. The problem is there's a nice little sweet spot right there in the center that we fall into. I actually have an agronomy degree from South Dakota State and have always loved the software, the technology side of it, and being able to view the big picture of how does it all come together. When an agronomist writes a prescription and he hands it to the applicator and says, I want you to put on 5 pounds of MAP per acre out of your strip till rig, the driver says, you're nuts, it's not going to work. But the recommendation says it has to be that. That doesn't work. You got to be able to look at the big picture and how does it all fit together, and does it really matter at that point? Okay? So one of the things that I try to do is take more of a consultant's approach, not only on the agronomy side, but also on the equipment side. So one of the things that we did this year is we looked at how are we going to be different than everybody else that's out there. One of the things I've seen and I've been told numerous times is as the technology industry matures, our margins are going to erode. So how are we going to be different? Well, how many people can say they sell an auto steer system? How many vendors are there in the marketplace today? Well, pretty soon when everybody's got the same thing, it gets down to a price issue. So how are we going to drive value from it? Okay? So all services and products we sell have one purpose. I want to make that producer more money. Ultimately, I want to cut his input costs, drive more yield, hopefully make their life simpler, and just decrease the efficiencies overall. Because when the ROI is the focal point, price falls out of the picture. It's hard. I will not disagree one bit. Selling based on ROI and agronomy is not as easy because it's a warm fuzzy. It's not just I got 180 pounds of trip pressure on this field cultivator. They got 200. Well, does that make theirs better? I don't know. It depends. Okay. Why do I want to buy this widget or service? So one of the things that we implemented this year is what I've got on the right-hand side of the screen. I borrowed this example from a colleague of mine who actually is going to be talking tomorrow. We went out and put in 25 plots, emergence plots with growers. Flagged off 100-foot a row, went out there every single day after planting, put a new color in as that day of that plant emerged, and started to track it because I keep getting told hydraulic downforce is the answer, electric drives is the answer, all this stuff. Well, how does it pay for itself? Well, as you can see here, this grower, who is just to the northwest of me, is a good friend of mine, his planter of his stand, granted this was planted on April 24th before our last snow this last year, put 34,200 in the ground. When it came to harvest, he had 28,900 seeds left to put in the combine. That's a lot of ears that we're missing. What did it truly cost him? Well, I back figured it at $280 a bag corn. It cost him almost 12 bucks an acre is what he lost just in the seed side of the expense. Now we start getting away from what am I selling him? What are we going after on that planter? He runs hydraulic drives in this planter. He's got E-sets on it. But we start to quantify what's going on out there. You're not just out there pitching something, oh, this is the greatest new widget in the world. It's what's happening. The farmer says, why? Right? So driving value from the agronomic services side, our precision agronomy service drives ROI year after year. The individual that I've got up here, we've actually helped him get set up here. This is his third year of running this machine. We started out with John, the grower. We were actually doing site-specific stover harvesting, going out baling only the areas of the field that his fertility was off the chart, instead of trying to bale everything and then just concentrate manure in on a few hundred acres. He was actually able to purchase this Artex spreader for about 60 grand. I put about $3,000 worth of hardware on it in addition to what he had, and it's shaving $50,000 a year off of his fertility bill. So all of a sudden now he's down to 50 bucks an acre to raise corn, at least on the fertilizer side. As he said, technology like variable rate manure is going to be what makes me money in good times and keeps me farming through the tough times, kind of like today. The fun part we figured out is now after 3 years, he finally went and calibrated the scales on this machine, found out we were over applying by 30%, and now he's actually able to take where he was only spreading about 300 acres with all of his manure, he's covering 1,400 acres, taking care of all his corn and bean needs on his operation. So huge from that standpoint. Not something everybody does. It was an outside of the box idea. We thought, why can't we do it with manure? We do it same type of a setup with variable rate lime. We can do it with manure. Picture in the lower left corner, another producer that's got a different style machine. We actually did what I call poor man's variable rate, and we actually set up it's actually a ground speed to apply based on. So as you see the colors on the map, those are on his monitor, shows him how fast he should be going across that field. Increase or decrease the rate of manure he's applying to try to do it better. Not just agronomically, environmentally, and economically as well, because those are important. And I ran quick too, Chris, so don't worry about that. Leaving it open for time. Appreciate everybody's attention for this too. So, thank you.
Well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. Some diverse perspectives there for sure. And at this time, we'd like to open up if there's any questions in the audience for any of the panelists. We do have Joe in the background with the mic, so just raise your hand. He'll find you, and we'll get those questions answered. So, got one right here.
Yes. What kind of a pricing structure do you use to provide the services per acre, or how are y'all doing that? And I know on some of it, like RDO, I'm not sure that's more of a corporate level deal, but on where you're dealing straight with the farmers.
I guess I'll take that. From my standpoint, most of what I'm charging is on a per acre basis. My average field size, just from a perspective standpoint, even though I'm on the edge of the Dakotas, it's about a 60 acre average size. So I still price most of my stuff on a per acre basis. I know a lot of colleagues to the west of me, as you get into larger half sections, full sections, they'll do more on a per zone type basis from that standpoint. But our bread and butter program that we use, our bundle program, is on a per acre basis.
Same here. We're on per acre basis.
I'll be the different one. We're on a per service basis. We actually, of our team of product specialists, they provide a lot of it is around training and startups, optimization of the equipment out in the field. We also provide data management services, but everything that we do right now today is all based off of a service, one-time service charge, annual service charge for those.
Other questions? I got a question for you guys. So you talked a little bit about the opportunity to drive some of the other services, equipment sales, hardware sales with some of the agronomic expertise that each of you provide. Could you maybe talk a little bit about where you're seeing that crossover? I mean, how is that kind of serving as that driver, if it is, for some of the product-based options you guys have, tying that into the agronomy?
Probably the best, excuse me, the best example I can give is when I've been in numerous situations where we do involve that agronomist in the conversation. So we'll have a meeting where we'll have the customer and his agronomist that he's working with, and they go over what their goals and plans are for his operation. A lot of times his agronomist or the person that's making his recommendations for his operation doesn't even know about all the latest and greatest stuff out there or opportunity we have with the equipment because it changes so quickly. So it's a point that everybody gets on the same page. So that agronomist is sitting in there along with the account manager who handles that account. And a lot of times our product specialist is there as well. We kind of use that a team approach. And we definitely look at that as keeping our customers, we call it keeping our customers sticky, where we're providing them solutions, and we aren't just viewed as just another tractor dealer, that we're coming there with a solution for them. I nailed it. Oh, come on. It wasn't that good.
I guess part of what I look at with it, Jack, is from when I started with the whole thing, that kind of the example I used to always give with a lot of producers in a lot of meetings was when Joe's got a problem with a cornfield, and I'm going to pick on corn. I'm not trying to profile and say that's the only crop. Come on, I'm in Minnesota. There are more, so don't throw stones on that. I know there's others. But if Joe's got a problem with his cornfield, who's the first person he gets a hold of? Who's his doctor? And that's usually the agronomist. The agronomist and the producer are normally the two that are going to go out and diagnose what the problem is. Poor timing of nitrogen application, whatever it might be. Then where do you go after you talk to your doctor? You go to your drug dealer. You're going to go to the green drugs, you're going to go to the blue drugs, you're going to go to the red drugs. That was kind of the approach that I had seen happening within the industry. And there was, unfortunately, there's a lot of, in some cases, pushback from some equipment dealers. I'm glad to hear that RDO is making some changes to include us independent agronomists, because we kind of get frowned upon a lot of times. But being able to tie those two together has been huge. And definitely putting those two components together in my business, somebody will come talk to me about a yield monitor and a combine, and it'll help drive soil sampling sales. Or I'll be doing soil sampling for somebody else and start doing variable rate, and I'll say, well, you're varying your fertilizer, but yet you're putting a flat 34,000 plants per acre out here. Why? You only put enough fertilizer out here in this area to raise for 20,000 plants. They need to go together. So they've been hand in hand in our geography from that standpoint.
Question over here.
Joel, you mentioned doing several field trials. Is that data kept in-house, or is there a place we can access that?
Yeah, right now it is in-house, and actually we did our first, we do large training events at each one of our regions, and the first we showed it with the booklet we put together was at that event. Right now we do see that as keeping it internally. We feel it's something we can leverage and differentiates us from everybody else out there, and the level that we're putting into it. But I would say there could be definitely, you can go and look at YouTube and you can get a pretty good gist of what some of the stuff we did. But the actual documents, we're holding pretty close to us right now. There could be potential in the future as we see things develop, how it goes. But right now, that's how we're using it to differentiate us.
Other questions out there?
My question's for Joel as well. I was kind of curious on how you guys make an agreement with working with the local agronomists, or I guess any of you can answer that. Is that more of like a handshake type agreement, or how does that work? You're not stepping on each other's toes per se.
Yeah, usually it's more of a handshake, just working together. Probably the most formal we've gotten has been with a few of the larger egg service providers in the area, where it was a teamed approach of helping cover the cost of the subscription, the JD Link subscription, working together that way. Otherwise, what it is a lot of times with some of those too is we're attending one of their trainings that they're having for their agronomists, going over having discussion around everything the Deere system can do. But yeah, we so far haven't did any formal type contracts other than a few marketing ones together.
Another one over here.
This question is for the whole panel. I'm just curious, from the beginning of 2017, from planting to harvest, can you guys give your impression of a gauge from the growers relative to the commodity prices? What are you guys seeing as far as the desire for your services? Did it start out slow and pick up, or was it the reverse? Just to give a little feedback on what you're seeing.
I want to say for our services, we stayed pretty flat for this year. I have seen some challenges. Some of the large growers that really are farming on economies of scale and covering large areas, large acreages. Some of those guys have been having challenges, and I think and I know the guys that are focusing on the precision ag more so than just covering acres are the guys that are still there today. And I use that analogy. All you do is read the paper, and you can see some of the challenges that's out there for the very large scale operations that are farming on efficiency and not as much on productivity. But I see it as just going to continue to grow. But ours, I would say for this year, it was flat to up as far as the services. I didn't see that making the commodity prices making a huge impact, because the farmers, the customers that realize they have to do things differently and see their neighbors doing some things differently that are being successful, know they have to manage that level. So the adoptions are going to continue to grow even in low commodity prices.
I think we stayed about the same. I think the salesman did a great job of showing the value of it. I did see some farmers cut back in other areas where they probably shouldn't have, but as far as precision ag, I think we did a great job of showing the value. We do a lot of cost analysis on how they did it their way versus our way. Take a field, for example, 100-acre field. What would you do on that field? And they said, well, I'd lime the whole thing for a ton. Well, right here, you only need to do 30 tons. So did I save you money? A lot of that helped with how we did stuff. So I think the salesman did a great job of doing that.
From my standpoint, I guess I would say that overall on the business side of things, I'm going to say flat to slightly up, but it's probably more of a shift Being more, my operation, I would say, is closer to about a 50-50 split between hardware versus agronomic services being provided. I saw kind of the pendulum swing more towards the agronomic services because the banker didn't say no on that side as fast as he did on a $50,000 update on a planner, for example. But I keep looking at the bottom line in QuickBooks and saying, okay, I trust it. It's not. It doesn't feel as rosy as what it looked like, but I would say up slightly.
Question?
Each of you guys talked specifically about selling ROI. How careful are you about your team telling the farmer the expected ROI versus them arriving at that number on their own?
I guess I'll go first since I got the mic last. Expected ROI, that's a warm fuzzy. In most cases, what I try to do is kind of like I showed with that plot data. Here's your field. Can we fix 100% of it? I can't guarantee it. Here are some of the solutions that it's going to take to get there, and a lot of times try to let them come up with that ROI themselves as much as anything, because it's just like when you hand them a sheet of paper for equipment, is it a quote or is it an estimate? Mine always says estimate. It's an estimated ROI based on last year, which I can do really good predicting last year's information as compared to next year. If I can predict the weather, I probably wouldn't be sitting here. Somewhere warmer.
I think most of the time it's the farmer making that decision. Like I said, at the end of the year, we sit down, we have these conversations of which way to go, and so I think on my part would be the farmer.
For us, I want to say it depends on the customer. So, your customers that can have a conversation with, and which ones need to think of the idea or bring it up. So I think it really, for us, the diversity of our customers across our base, it's not a blanket approach we're using with those ROIs, and in some situations it doesn't make sense at all. So I know that's not a direct answer, but it is very, we need to be flexible with ours, and that's how we've taken that approach.
We got time for a few more questions if anybody's.
To go to that, like I said, when we talk to a farmer, it's still his field. So whatever we got to do to make that farmer comfortable doing this, that's what we're going to do. So if he wants to put a minimum rate of something that he doesn't need, that it's his field. It's still his call. I think.
Time for a couple more if anybody's got one. I had one more. A few of you alluded to this during your presentations about some of the trials that you're working on either this past year or looking into the coming year. But I was wondering if each of you could maybe just offer some perspective on where you guys see that next leap with kind of the agronomic side of your business. And obviously it's at varying degrees for each of you, but is it an extended partnership? Is it adding some additional services? Is it tying things more in line with some of the hardware and equipment? But maybe this is an extension of some of the things you guys are already doing. But where do you see that next step potential in this area?
That's the hardest one yet. One thing I think we're going to see more and more of, at least from our manufacturer, is more obviously more sensors on the equipment, more ability to collect data, and more ability to make decisions off that data is collected right on the machine. So that's the shift that we can look at that I see going forth in our specific area where who we're working with. That being said, I know just how our business is structured today. Sometimes it's tough for us to integrate that technology on the older equipment. A lot of times you go into an equipment dealer, they have a standard. Okay, what needs to be done here? the technician just goes through and installs it. You know, where's the book? How's it tell to get it put on? You don't have that all the time when you're trying to integrate a newest technology with older equipment, and that's something that we have a lot of discussion with internally within our company. You know, how do we handle that? How do we make that work so you don't go to the customer, make a quote, and you're just way out of the ballpark, and there's no way he's going to install this new sensor, latest sensor on his planter for measuring EC while he's going on the field or something. You know, so that's something we need to look internally how we handle it. Right now today we handle it within our team where we're working. We have some of the guys that are better at that, you know, and integrate the hardware pieces into the equipment, and then structuring that we can mainstream that across the company and into all of our service departments and our shops across our company. So.
I don't have an answer for that. Where I'm located, I think we're a little behind the times, and so like yield monitors, I can say now, 5 years ago, most of the farmers didn't have it. Now we do have it. So technically I'm here to see Jason and the Southern States guys here in Kentucky to kind of get a grasp on what I can talk to my farmers about. When I start talking about new technology, I always like to tell a farmer, you know, I'm not telling you to go out and spend money, but I want you to be thinking about what you can do when you go buy that next piece of equipment. So right then and there is a value to them versus, like I said, we talked about plant population and what we can do with it. And when they get that piece of equipment, they'll think maybe that's the way to go.
Sure.
How often do you get questions from the farmer of what should my next piece of equipment be? What brand should I go talk to? What options should I look at? Yes.
Most of the time that conversation happens when we're talking about their data. You know, what's going on here? Why are you putting 38,000 across the whole field when you're not growing anything over there or whatever? And they go, well, my planter will only do that. I can't change it or whatever. That's how we want to start the conversation with them. And so a lot of stuff that I showed you is a way to start that conversation. Not only with someone who's in precision ag, but some of the farmers who are not. That's how you get them interested, is starting that conversation. Did that answer the question, or?
Same question?
Yeah.
We, on a regular basis, have a standing rule in our office, and with all producers when they come through the door, that regardless if they're going to buy a piece of anything, they're going to make a management decision in their operation, whether we sell it to them or not, we'd love to help them get through that process the best. What's best for them? I have a poster on the wall of my office that everybody walks by that before they step into my office that says you can plant more corn in a crooked row. It was an article wrote about my dad when I was about this big. And I think it's funny now I'm selling auto steer systems. So to go along with that, I take the attitude with every producer that walks through the door. If I wouldn't sell it to him, I'm not going to sell it to you. I want to help you make the best decision. So we get a lot of questions coming in. Hey, I'm looking at trading sprayers. I'm looking at a new planter. I need to do something different in this area of my operation. They're coming in and having a conversation with us on a regular basis from that standpoint. In some cases, I've even sat at the kitchen table when it's a large deal between a red planter or a green planter going across that field the next year. Jack, I guess to answer your question on some of the things, one of the big things that we're trying to do internally within our operation, just out of morbid curiosity, can I see a show of hands of people who are processing data in a room? There's a few. How many guys hand a stack of maps or reports or graphs to a producer? And they go, oh, cool. That's been one of my biggest pet peeves within what we do. One of the things that I'm trying to do is hand them that, but their coverage page is, hey, Joe, here's your list of action items. Here's the top 4 things on your farm you have got to attack for 2018. or 2018 and 2019? And when are you planning on changing that planner? We need to really implement this because this is what's killing you, and here's the data to show it. So I'm trying to leverage as much of our agronomy trials and testing and scouting and stuff that we do to try to help drive them in that next decision, because when you're showing them value before you've ever sold anything or before they've even realized there's a problem, they're more apt to come back to us, is what we've found.
Well, excellent. How about another round of applause here for our panelists?